Alright, I'm gonna say that the movie was pretty good to watch, and I would love to tell you at first that if you wanna enjoy the best experience from this movie, you should go and watch it on the big screen. Anyways, let's break down this movie in the simplest language possible. The movie begins with the backstory of a British former SAS operative who gets grounded from the job due to his registered psychiatric problems. The name of the man is Levon Cade. He now lives in Chicago, America as a construction worker for Garcia and Family Constructions Limited. Mr. Joe Garcia, his daughter Jenny Garcia, and his mother Carla Garcia were having a conversation about their next business plan. This is when Jenny tells her father, Mr. Joe, that she will need her father's debit card to fund a party she is about to arrange. At first, the old man was feeling a bit hesitant to give out thousands of dollars to his daughter to blow in a party, but after Levon Cade begins to persuade him, he finally decides to hand over the debit card. During the chatter, Levon gets to notice two gangsters invading the construction site, beating up one of the laborers due to personal matters. This is when Levon decides to take the matter in his hand and teaches them a good lesson. They finally choose to walk away from the site. Jenny comes to give Levon homemade lunch which was made by her grandmother. At this point, Levon is more like a family to them. After the lunch break, Levon goes to the house of his father-in-law where his daughter Mary Kate lives. The old man still doesn't like him because he believes that Levon was responsible for the suicide of his daughter. If Levon was careful enough to spend adequate time with his wife, she might have been saved from depression and anxiety. Father and daughter then go to a local diner to grab some food, and he gives Mary a portrait of a late mother. She likes the surprise and tells Levon that she will keep that picture near her bed when she gets back to home. He then goes to talk to his lawyer about the custody of his daughter. His father-in-law, Dr. Rath, wants to take full custody of his daughter Mary and never let Levon see his daughter again. But he has been bleeding money to win that case of parental custody. At night, during the party, when Jenny was enjoying with her friends, this bartender named Johnny drugs all the drinks of Jenny and her friends. This sneaky son of a bitch is actually a drug seller and also involved in a human trafficking racket. A couple of minutes after the drink, she goes to the washroom with her friend feeling nausea. When she comes out of the washroom, she gets kidnapped by a man named Viper. He is a professional sex trafficker. In the next morning, when Levon goes to the construction site as usual, he finds two cops leaving the headquarters. Curious him goes inside and gets to learn about everything that happened last night. Their parents offer Levon $70,000 in cash to find back their daughter, but he doesn't take the money and assures both of them that he will do his best to find out Jenny Garcia. He then goes to meet his former comrade Gunny Lafferty, who now lives in a small house at the countryside taking retirement. He has become blind after an explosion took place during his last mission. Levon then tells Gunny that he might need some help to find back Jenny. After that, he goes to the house of Mr. Joe Garcia. The old man was completely drunk watching some old videos of his daughter. Levon then tells him again that he has already started the investigation and he will find out Jenny within a couple of days. He begins to connect the dots one by one and finally decides to go to the bar where the kidnapping took place. After observing that place for a few hours, he discovers the bartender selling drugs to his customers. He also finds a crippled CCTV camera which was possibly cut off before the kidnapping took place. When the shift was over, the bartender goes back to home. Levon also follows him to his place. Dude was having some serious fun with that piece of junk, and this is when Levon enters the room with a gun in his hand. At first, he nicely interrogates Johnny about the missing girl, but when he was not getting anything out of him, he decides to level up his interrogation tactic and finally gets to find a name, which is of course Viper, the actual kidnapper. During the interrogation, Levon hears some footsteps into the home and he proceeds to shoot all the intruders. Unfortunately, all three of them die at the spot. But Levon doesn't care anymore because he has got all the clue he needed for the next step of his investigation. He picks away $90,000 that he found lying on the table before leaving that place. Jenny is now tied inside a small room and she has got no idea exactly why she has been kidnapped. Levon, on the other hand, follows all the clues to a Russian mafia named Volo Kolesniak and his two nephews, Dania and Vanko. When Vanko says that these people probably killed each other out of personal grudges, their uncle gets angry and slaps him on the face. He then tells both of them that it was probably a murder by some professional and his $90,000 are also missing. He then calls in a cleaning service line to take care of the dead bodies. When the man leaves the place in his Mercedes S-Class, Levon also follows him to his mansion. He then sets up a camera to zoom into the place to see what's happening. His wife, Svetlana Kolesniak, tries to check on him, but the man man gets angered instead. Being surprised by this sudden act of aggression, she calls the man Suchka, which in English translates to fucking son of a bitch, and leaves the mansion in her Jaguar. Levon then infiltrates the mansion, beats the man up pretty good, and ties him to a chair right in front of the pool for intimidation. He investigates the man for like 5 minutes continuously until he gets the name Dimi Kolesniak, who is the son of this Russian mafia. Dimi is the one who kidnapped Jenny for selling her as a sex slave. He then proceeds to throw the man into the pool after the investigation was over. And there goes the entry of the ultimate Russian mafia, Grim Hustle. Simon Karachenko, the elder brother of Volo Kolesniak in the mafia family. He swears before his 2 sons that he will find out the killer and give him a slow death with his own hands. He then goes to a bar as a part of his investigation to find out a drug lord who can help him to get in touch with Dimi Kolesniak. In the control room, Doji and Artemis were taking a look at this new face in the bar, and while zooming in with the infrared vision, she gets to notice a small gun in the pocket of Levon. She then sends Doji to see Levon to find out exactly why this man has come to the bar. He offers Doji $5,000 to see his boss for a drug trade. The name of this man is Dutch, a black king from the Game of Cylinders. Just kidding. At first, the man begins to doubt that Levon might be a cop trying to mess around, so he tells his men to capture Levon, but they all get smashed up like boiled potatoes. Impressed by his fighting skills, he offers Levon a seat for a peaceful conversation. Levon then makes a $5,000 deal with Dutch for half a pound of blue meths, which is a new kind of drug floating in the black market. In the next morning, he goes to a local diner to meet Doji and Artemis to get the drug delivery. He gets his hand on half a pound of blue meths. On his way to home, he stops the vehicle and throws them into the canal. A few days later, Dutch gives a phone call to Levon and tells him that he is willing to arrange a meeting between Levon and Dimi Kolesniak for a bigger business deal. Levon agrees to come to the meeting because that's the person he is about to kill. In the next morning, he gets to meet Dimi for a drug trade. He at first checks the driving license of Levon, which actually has got a fake name with a fake address. Looking at the card, he gives it back to Levon, apologizes for the inconvenience, and finally makes a $10,000 deal with him, which will extend every single week. He then goes back home, takes out the blue meth, and dumps them all into the toilet. This is all just part of his plan to get closer to Dimi to find out the info about Jenny. After hacking the phone of Jenny, he gets to find out a lot of selfies of that night during the party and gets to notice this suspicious man in the background all the time. It doesn't take much time for him to understand that he is the one who probably kidnapped Jenny from the party. At night, he gets chased all of a sudden by some of the men of Dimi Kolesniak because his real identity has been revealed. His motorcycle finally clashes with the police vehicle, and unfortunately, they turn out to be on the payroll of these Russian mafias. They hand over Levon to Dania and Vanko, but this is the former SAS we are talking about. He manages to kill both brothers along with the driver and dumps the vehicle into the nearby canal. Their father, Simon Karchenko, gets to find out about this and swears in the name of Jesus that he will take the revenge of his children's death. He goes to meet his nephew, blasting into the party with a machine gun, and then tells him that his stupidity has caused both of his cousins to get killed. He then tells Dimi that if they fail to stop that SAS soldier, that man will end up killing everyone in the Kolesniak and Karchenko family. In the meanwhile, Levon gets to pick his daughter from the school, and when he goes back to the mansion of his father-in-law, he finds everything set on fire. He somehow manages to rescue his father-in-law from burning alive and calls in the ambulance. It doesn't take much time for him to understand that it was an act of personal vendetta from Simon Karchenko. He gives promise to his father-in-law that he will take care of the entire situation and keep his own daughter safe from all the chaos. He takes his daughter Mary to the house of Gunny to keep her safe from any possible attempt of kidnapping. He tells Gunny that he will need some serious firepower to deal with the Russian mafia. Gunny then shows his personal weapons collection to Levon to choose from. He takes a semi-automatic sniper, a shotgun, a handgun, 5 grenades, and some cutleries for the ambush. Before leaving the house, he gives his military badge to his daughter, promising that he will be back just within a few days. At night, he goes on full John Wick mode to eliminate Dimi Kolesniak and all of his men to rescue Jenny Garcia. He shoots down Dimi Kolesniak and interrogates him about the girl. After a few moments, he agrees to give the address of the girl, providing that Levon will spare his life in exchange of the information. They finally drag to the place where Jenny Garcia can be found. After reaching the destination, Levon breaks the deal and shoots Dimi Kolesniak Lesniak into the puddle, saying that he cannot spare the life of someone who is a sex trafficker and a rapist. The client who was willing to purchase Jenny Garcia as a sex slave has arrived in the safe house. When he was checking out the girl, Levon breaks into the place all guns blazing. He kills Dutch inside the safe house and then closes in on Viper. He takes out the client and begins to beat up Viper in a vicious way. Garcia, on the other hand, puts Artemis in a chokehold with the thighs. They both get killed and Levon finally breaks Garcia free from this mess. When they are about to get out, they get into confrontation from the men of Simon Karchenko. Levon manages to take down the skinny one with a sniper gun and the other one with a grenade. They steal a cruising bike and flee from the place before the police arrive over there. Simon Karchenko watches everything from behind, realizing the fact that he has lost every member in his family. They finally go back to home and Jenny gets to reunite with her parents after almost a week of being kidnapped. Levon goes to take back his daughter and thanks Gunny for keeping her safe. And that is the end of the story. I would love to give this movie a 6 out of 10.